Welcome to Rebuilding the Beast. Welcome to the show. This podcast, one of the things that I love about this whole thing is that I get to be real and vulnerable with my homies, and there's nobody realer than you. That's why I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was the best idea to have you on here. And so now we're going to dive deep into your story. I think it can help some kids out there, some people out there who are trying to make it in whatever endeavors. You are definitely the definition of a beast, right? Um, but before we get into all that, how are you doing? How's home? You're in Australia right now, in Sydney.
No, I'm on the Gold Coast, which is a little bit further north. Everything's okay. I mean, the world's in kind of disarray at the moment, as we know, but where I'm at's pretty good for the most part. We had a few lockdowns earlier on a few months ago, but for the most part, I think we're under 100 cases, maybe 150 cases in the whole country. So we're doing pretty well compared to what you guys are experiencing over there. So it's been good, but at the same time, it's still restricted travel. It's hard for us to leave the country. You have to get kind of a permit to even leave. So, seeing family and friends that are interstate has been very, very hard at the moment, but most people are going through the same thing. So just got to try to remain positive and get through it.
That's the name of the game right now, staying positive. But tell me about, you just announced your retirement in December. And, it's crazy. You've had, 15 years in the league, 15-year pro. So many accolades, right? We talk about, first pick in the draft. You were all NBA. You're a leading shot blocker in the league. All these different accolades. Shot blocker, all that. These are things that it's almost like you lived a whole bunch of different lives in one, and then you had some injuries that you came back from, which is why I consider you a beast, because you had multiple career-ending injuries. All right, so we're gonna go through all that, but first, tell me about what retirement life is like after you're done playing basketball, the thing that we all love.
It's definitely not that exciting. Not as exciting as playing in the NBA. But I got two young kids, so that was part of the decision, was to try and be at home a little bit more. I mean, one of them starts school next year, so I kind of always had a plan of having kids kind of late 20s, early 30s, and then when I'm kind of transitioning out of basketball, to have them start school, because some guys do it well, but for the most part, I've seen the strain that the NBA life puts on your kids, especially, and getting traded and moving around. I didn't want my kids to move 3 or 4 schools in 5 years or 10 years, and so that was kind of a conscious decision I always had. But at the moment, retirement life's kind of strange because of the virus. Like, I haven't really been able to transition straight into the things I want to do. I mean, I'm doing the podcast, which we'll talk about later, but for the most part, there's a lot of things I want to do, especially in my home city of Melbourne, and I haven't had a chance to do it because, the virus has kind of shut everything down. So I've just been, for the most part, hubbed up here in what was supposed to be a holiday house. I've been here the last year and just waiting for things to, somewhat get back to normal.
Andrew Bogut, who was, younger guy, and now you're Andrew Bogut, the father, not the NBA player. I feel like that title supersedes everything. How has that changed your outlook on life, on everything?
Oh, it changes a lot because your kids don't look at you as the basketball player or, the former basketball player or the professional athlete. So the beauty about, kids is they don't give a shit about all that. Like, you get home, you could have 30 and 10 one night, and you get back and all they want to do is play Legos, and then you got to change a diaper, and then you got to clean up after them. Like, so that's the beauty of having kids. They're real. They're the reason why I love being around kids more than adults at times is they don't sugarcoat things. They're very, very direct, very honest. They're not trying to go around your feelings or whatever. They're going to tell you how they feel, whether you like it or not. So I have a huge respect for that. But yeah, look, it changes you. It kind of, things that mattered 10 years ago to me that I stressed about.
Yeah, it don't matter anymore.
Oh yeah, they're small. They're small things. But then you have different stresses. You have stresses about, you might leave them with a family member. You might be a bit stressed about, like, are they going to be okay? Or you have someone babysitting, whatever it is. So then you've got this whole another different group of stresses that come into your life about caring for them. So that's probably the biggest thing that changes.
Family members, if you're listening, he doesn't trust you with them. Okay.
Trust no one but myself, my wife, kids.
Do you see yourself in them though? Do you see young Andrew running around when you see your kids?
Yeah, look, they're both different. One's definitely more like me, but they both have different traits. Like some of them, some traits are more towards my wife with one of them, and some are more towards me. But yeah, it's just amazing how much. I mean, I bite my nails, right? So it's a bad habit I have. I've had it since I was a young kid. And now, the older one's biting his nails at 4. He sees me doing it, right? And I get mad at him and say, "Don't bite your nails," because I know how silly it is. But that just goes to show that they watch every little thing you do, and I'm trying to be cognizant now of not doing it in front of them, because they pick up everything you do.
Yeah, I'm sure that everything you do now, you're thinking in your mind like, yo, how can I be a good role model for these kids?
Especially swear words, man.
Woo, that's got to be a tough one.
Yeah, my wife and I use bad language at times, like just in a happy way. You know what I mean? Like, that's effing great or whatever. And they've used it a few times in context, so you can't get too mad within context. And you're just like, oh no, like you kind of let them know that it's you can't say that, but at the same time you can't be too pissed off because they've learned it from you, right?
Yeah, we're gonna dive into we're gonna rebuild you back up, right? We're gonna go back to the beginning. You were born in Melbourne. One thing I did not know is that we shared something in common, that we were both cut from the basketball teams, our respective ones. Obviously, you were way farther ahead. I was cut in high school at 15, but you were cut from what team was it? The Victorian team? What was that
I was
team?
cut numerous times, but yeah, the big one was the state team, which would be the equivalent of kind of an AAU team. I was cut under 18, so I was 16 at the time.
Tell me, okay, before that, tell me how basketball even came into your life.
So yeah, most people that know my story know that my dad was a mechanic or a carburetor and fuel specialist. So he had kind of like a warehouse mechanical workshop, small one, and then next door to him there was a body shop, so a panel beater, like people that worked on cars and spray painted parts and whatever.
That's why you got into the car thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I grew up around cars. That's why I love cars. But next door, they bought like a hoop, one of those just cheap hoops you get from like Target or wherever, right? It just had 2 bolts just going to a brick wall and just a circle, right? That was a hoop. So they put one of these hoops up in the wall that separates my father's workshop and their workshop. And they used to use it to, they had hooks on the actual rim that they use it to dry parts from cars, right? So like, say they painted a small little grill or whatever it was, they'd spray paint it, they'd hang it up so it'd dry in the sun.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience of throwing a ball through a hoop. Was on that janky little hoop. I don't know if it was the right height. I don't know. I know it was like a $10 rim. I think I threw a tennis ball through it first, and then a soccer ball, and then moved on to a basketball. And I just always loved the game because of that. And that was my first memory of shooting a ball through a hoop. So yeah, I still remember it to this day.
And then going from this, that's actually a really dope memory. I had something like that where I was playing in the driveway, something like that. And then you develop, you keep growing, and now you're how tall are you when you're 16 and you get released from the team?
I think I was like 6'8". So I wasn't 7 foot yet, but I was a fireman at that point, a 4'5", but I was 6'7", 6'8".
Are there a bunch of 7 foot 16-year-olds running around? What do you mean you're not 7 foot at the time?
I'm 7 foot now. But yeah, no, there is. I mean, these days, these kids are getting bigger and bigger and longer. And you look at just some high school games in the States, there's so many big kids now at 15, 16. I don't know what's going on. It's probably the steroids and the chicken.
So actually I always say that all the time about myself, about how I feel like I just shot up when I came to the United States. So you go from there. And this is for, part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is because I feel like there's people who hit these different adversities, right? Or they hit different highlights in their life and they feel like they can't relate, right? There's a kid out there who got cut in high school and he's like, yo, my journey is over. But then he sees Andrew Bogut, who had this amazing career. It's like, yo, how did you get through this period? If you get cut in high school, what were you thinking about? How did you face that? I know how you think. I know you're like, yo, I'm about to go get him, right? I'm about to show them. What was going through your mind when you got cut?
Look, my journey from a junior age, even from 11, 12, it was bumpy. Like I got labeled as having an attitude problem because I was a fiery dude. So I hated losing. If dudes wouldn't play the right way, I'd get mad at them. Even at 12, 13, like, dude, like, stop hogging the ball, pass the ball. Like, and I'd show it. I'd show that I was pissed off at you. And as a kid, especially in junior sport, you're not allowed to do that because it's bad sportsmanship, right? But it was just my passion for the game. So I got labeled early in my basketball career already. And but I always knew that I always put more time in than anyone else, and I love the game so much. I'd watch endless amounts of basketball on TV when it was raining outside if I couldn't go outside. And my father knew how much time I spent in the backyard just playing basketball. So I didn't know that I'd be an NBA player. I mean, a goal for me was just to play professionally in Australia, and I thought, like, if I was making money from basketball, that was like the dream come true. It didn't matter how much or how little, right? And then once I got cut from that state team, the beautiful thing about being cut from them was that I got the emergency spot. So there was a squad of 12 and I was essentially 13, 14, 15. So if someone got injured, I got to go to that national championships, which was in another 6 month time. So I got to train with the squad still.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was like a blessing in disguise, because even though, like, I wasn't going to the nationals, it was disappointing, but I then was like, all right, I'm going to go to because I still got to train with them twice a week. I'm going to go to these training sessions and try to beat the absolute shit out of every one of them. And it was funny because, like, when you make a team, you've made it. So you kind of, your guard goes down and you're like preparing for the next tournament. And then you got this asshole me, like the emergency. It's just like every second I was like, and as those weeks rolled on from week 1 to week 10 to week, by the end of that, I was the best player on that team, and I was an emergency. I couldn't go though because all the kids had paid their fees, they'd got their uniforms. They can't make that change 6 months later, right? So that was a huge turning point, and my parents found me a half Serbian, half Croatian trainer, which is my roots are from Croatia, and he picked me up every day after school. And on top of all my club trainings, all my morning trainings, everything else, all the games, we trained basically from straight after school till someone kicked us off the court. So I knew eventually the time that I was putting in, I knew the kid that was the best player on that state team wasn't putting in as much time as me. And I knew eventually that access was going to cross. And then, I went back to my club team. And then the way it works, so the state team kids, they all generally play for different clubs around Melbourne, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew my club team would eventually face each one of these different guys with their club team that made it over me. And I, to be honest with you, I kicked all their asses every time we played against them. So, and that's when it just, within 6-7 months, I went from being cut from the state team to being in the AIS, which is the top 12 players in Australia. So my turnaround was really short, but it was really because of the time I put in, away from the lights and action.
I played against the AIS when I was in college. I think I told you this, and I was a sophomore, and we played against the AIS, and they can really play, man. So Australian basketball at the time, I was so impressed because a few of the kids we play against are in the NBA now. Dante Exum was one of them. So you go from there, you play to the AIS, and at this point, you're still not thinking about playing. Are you thinking about playing pro in the NBA or Europe or?
Not NBA. I mean, I didn't know where I was going. People thought I had a chance, but I was like, I didn't know what was ahead, right? So, I signed with the University of Utah, got a scholarship there. So that was kind of the next phase of my career. But then in 2003, went to the World Junior Championships, and that's when stuff blew up for me. I led the league in scoring and led the tournament in scoring and rebounding. I averaged like something insane. I can't remember, like 26 and 17 or 18 or whatever it was. And that was against future NBA draft picks. JJ Redick, Deron Williams was there, D Brown, a bunch of really good players. And that's where I kind of then got on the world map. We won a gold medal, first one for Australia at the under 19 level. And then I was still going on to the University of Utah. So people then kind of knew about me. And then, like I said, I went from being basically cut from a state team at 16, 17 to being drafted at 20. So it was basically a 2.5, 3 year.
That's crazy, man.
Turnaround to be the number one pick, right? So it all happened for me in a really short amount of time and just kind of came together. I took that momentum and ran with it.
I really want to know. I want to know about even going to America. Like now you're going to college. Okay, let's put the pro thing to the side for a second. I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna be a college kid and I'm gonna enjoy it. But then Utah, what was that like?
It was a strategic decision somewhat. I knew that, I was a wild kid. At 15, 16 was kind of off the court, love to have fun and do stupid shit and mess around with girls and mess around with the boys, doing things. So I knew if I went to a Florida or a UCLA or a school that had all those distractions with parties and girls and frat houses and all that kind of stuff, I knew I could potentially get caught up in that. So I wanted to go to a school that was a bit more chill. And Salt Lake City I still speak highly of the city. I loved it there. And there's still things there that you can do to have fun. If you want to find parties and going wild, you can find it anywhere in the world if you look hard enough, right? So, but it was predominantly chill there. It was a great program. Rick Majerus was there at the time, a really hard-nosed coach, but really good at developing bigs. So that was a no-brainer decision for me, and it gave me a whole lot of time of whenever I was bored or had nothing to do, I'd go to the gym and work out.
Who's helping you make these decisions though? That's crazy to think that a 17, 18-year-old is thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to a place where I'm not gonna party and this guy is a great person at developing bigs, and then in a couple of years, maybe I'll give myself a chance.
My dad was always big on, he always said, stay away from the girls till you make it. So he was always, 14, 15, 16, that's all he drummed into me, because I guess as a young fella, he got, he was around a little bit and had his fun. But he said, as a sportsman, once you make it, have your fun. But until then, and he was obviously worried about, you get a girl pregnant at a young age, what happens, your life changes. We see that with a lot of athletes, right? Mm-hmm. So he was always instilled that in me, whereas like the girls, that'll come. The fun and the partying will come. But concentrate on the game, and I kind of always had that in the back of my mind of getting there first, and then everything else will work itself out.
Your improvement from your freshman year to sophomore year, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like from 13 to 10 points a game to 20 points a game in your conference. What's that work and that transition like? You go from, okay, let me figure out the college game, into your second year, you're like, okay, I got this. What was that transition like for you?
Oh, there was a number of reasons. I was 13 and 10 my freshman year, but playing for Rick Majerus, notorious hard head coach, and really, really good as far as X's and O's. Probably the best guy I've played with as far as basketball IQ. But on the flip side, he was so hard nosed that he'd take your confidence away. So you'd be scared to make a mistake at times. You'd be scared to make a play, maybe turn it over. And as you know, you can't play basketball like that. You can't play sport in fear of making a mistake. You got to sometimes make the mistakes and then correct them, but you can't be in fear of making them. And I was at times in that system. And then between my freshman and sophomore year, I went and tried out for the Australian Olympic team, made that team, which went to the Athens Olympics, was a starting 5-man at 19, 20 years old. Wow. And had a really good tournament, and played against, the USA team, which had, LeBron and AI and, Tim Duncan, and played well against Tim Duncan as a 19-year-old kid. So going back for my sophomore year, I was like, shit, I just competed against men and held my
confidence.
Own.
Crazy, huh?
And I was just like, now I'm playing against kids again. Like, there's no chance anyone in the whole nation can guard me, can play with me. and yeah, put up 20 and 12 and clean sweeped all the college awards and just had a really, really good year. And we were a team that we had a new head coach that came because Rick Majerus left, so we weren't really picked to do that much. I don't think we were even picked to win conference at the time. So we win conference, go to the Sweet 16, we lose to a tough Kentucky team. But yeah, I think that off season for me was huge because I put a lot of time into my game, but also playing with men. It just gave me a confidence that I got back to my sophomore year and I'm like, I'm playing against boys again. Like, I know I'm better than most of these guys, and it just, yeah, that confidence just flew into then going into the NBA draft.
That's crazy. You said you gave a few gems right there. One of them was, you can't play scared. Confidence is the biggest thing in any kind of sport, right? Really in life. Sport is just a metaphor for life, right? And you can't go into it scared. You got to be okay with making mistakes. You always go, like, even the greatest people, like greatest players in the world make mistakes. LeBron airballed a free throw a few weeks ago, and people will be stuck on that and say, wow, well, how can you do that? But the trick is that they make mistakes and they're able to do 50 other good things, but you're still stuck on the mistake. And that's, for a lot of us, that's a thing that we get stuck on sometimes. And I think it's important for people to hear you say that. Now you're going to the NBA draft, number 1 pick. Yo, what is this like? Matter of fact, you know what? Let's go to the draft. All right. With the number 1 pick. And wait, your middle name is Michael?
Michael, yeah, that's it.
Andrew Michael Bogut. Milwaukee Bucks select Andrew Michael Bogut. What are you thinking about? How are you feeling? Because you're at the draft, right? So what was that moment like?
Oh man, the whole month was just crazy. So I didn't know coming out of college. So let's run it back. Started my sophomore year, I was predicted late first rounds. After like the first month or two, I started moving up to like mid to late, and then by the end of the season, I was projected like top 10, top 5. And then as it got closer towards draft workouts, it was like, nah, this dude's going like top 5, top 3. So then my agent was like, you're only working out for the top 2 teams with the top 2 picks. So that's Milwaukee 1, Atlanta 2. We're not working out for anyone else. And I know Utah had 3 at that point, I think. And they were trying to like get me at 3 because I wanted me to stay in Utah.
Market, yeah.
But yeah, and then it just all came together. But then the draft is just so crazy because they have you doing, you know how it is, you go to an all-star weekend or an NBA event, they have you doing so much different stuff that you're just tired, man. And you're just like, damn, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But when that night came, I had my whole family there. My mom, my dad, sister, aunties, grandma came out. So
grandma came too.
Oh, grandma wasn't at that point. Grandma was still relatively young at that point. So, but yeah, they all came out. So we go to the draft, and then a bit of nervousness, not knowing where I was going to go, but I knew I was going to be in the top 5. So I was kind of like, cool, whatever happens, happens. And then we were trying to get Milwaukee or Atlanta, like at least Milwaukee, to say, hey, are you going to take Andrew at number 1? My agent was asking them, and they're like, no, we're not saying anything. We want that genuine surprise. And then they picked me number 1. So the draft didn't last very long for me. Like some of these poor kids that have to wait late and very nervous about whether they're going to get drafted. Yeah, it's
I was the last pick of the first round, and I'm sitting there because I'm nervous the whole time. I didn't know what was going to happen. So the Warriors select me. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but imagine being like projected to be, late first, early second, and it's pick 50 and you haven't been picked yet. So there's a lot of different stories that go into a draft. And then went number 1. All I remember is going, like, grabbing my family, emotional, shaking David Stern's hand, and then I was in the back, and it was like back to work. There was 10 or 15 media stations set up, did all my media, and then I still remember just going back with my family and getting absolutely, kind of had way too many drinks, just celebrated and just let go because of all the pressure, and wasn't drinking before the draft, was really focused on getting strong in the weight room and whatnot, and then just basically having let loose for a night, and then the next morning was on a private jet to Milwaukee.
Wow! So now you're an NBA player. Now it's time to shift from the college basketball where we're playing for fun. You're playing for the love of the game, and you're still playing for the love because we love this game. You can't do it if you don't love it. But now it's a job. what is this shift like? What is your rookie year? What's that experience like?
Oh, it's real hard. It's a really hard time as far as, you know, college. Everything's still kind of taken care of for you. You don't really have to do the everyday things. You know, getting your house furnished. You know, buying kitchenware, getting bed sheets, towels. Like people don't think about all that stuff, right? So you're back in the real world, right? You're on your own. So um, that was probably hard of transitioning that and learning how to pay your bills and learning how to do all that. Because in college, you don't do any of that. Everything's taken care of. So getting out there, basketball was one thing, but just transitioning into working life essentially was the hardest thing of just figuring all that out. So that takes you a couple of months to kind of get yourself settled in your apartment and all that, and just learn on the fly. Like I think still 2-3 years in the league, I was still learning on the fly with business stuff and how to do things and all that kind of stuff. And you know, you need to have people you can trust around you for the most part, and a small circle. But it's hard, man. Like it's not an easy transition, especially from college. And then on top of that, you're playing against grown men that are, you know, I was in the era of the true big man, right? So I came out of college at 225, 230 pounds. I knew I wasn't really ready for the NBA as far as my body. I wasn't that strong, and I just couldn't put on weight. But I had to go because I was projected top 5. But I knew I wasn't ready physically, and had an okay year. I mean, averaged 9 and 7 my rookie year. It wasn't horrible by any means, but I'm competing against, you know, almost prime Shaq, Dwight Howard, who was prime Dwight Howard, not
Yeah.
Yao Ming. And then there was a lot of bruising guys, Charles Oakley and all those guys that would mess you up if you messed around with them. So that was the hardest thing, was just navigating all that, and on top of that, trying to better yourself as a player.
You know what I want to know though is, like, I want to know your welcome to the NBA moment, because this whole thing and what I like to talk about is the transitions, right? Like, what is it like? Because a lot of times people just think you get to the NBA and it's like, okay, now you're just playing basketball. Like, oh yeah, you've played basketball your whole life. This should just be a continuation. No, it's a big jump. Now you talk about playing with actual grown men now. What was your welcome to NBA moment? Whether it's like somebody you played against, like, yo, this person is really that good, or person is really that big, or like, I don't know what you would say in this case, but yeah.
There wasn't one specific moment. Well, first off, I got ejected in a summer league game. So I got into it with a dude because I was the number 1 pick. Like I had a lot of rookies and guys. I got into it with David Lee actually. We played them
Really?
as well. It wasn't him I got ejected, but him and I hated each other for the most part of 10 years till we played together. But yeah, that was a kind of a welcome moment, knowing that number 1 pick, I got a target on my head. But it wasn't one moment. The thing that really hit me with the NBA was how quick the turnarounds are. So like you could have the best game in the world and feel good about yourself. Like we opened in Philly, Philly. They were really good. We beat them, and you're feeling good about yourself, and you got a game the next night. Or vice versa. You have a horrible game, and you got to regather, regroup because you got a game the next night or the night after. And it just really was shocking of how busy the NBA schedule is. People don't really understand that, when you're not at the gym, you're on a plane. When you're not on a plane, you're on a bus. When you're not on a bus, you're at practice. And then the rest of that small amount of time you got, you're either sleeping, eating, or maybe spending a little bit of time with your family. So that was the biggest thing that hit me. Like, it's just, your time management is just crazy.
So you were my vet when we were with the Warriors together. And who was your vet when you were on the team with the Bucks? Who was the guy that kind of looked out for you?
So I had a guy named Irvin Johnson, not Magic Johnson, Irvin Johnson. Big fella that played for Seattle many years ago, and he was in Denver for a bit, played all around the league. Just a really good vet to me. And the other one was Jamal McGraw. Jamal McGraw was traded right at the end of preseason my rookie year. So that also gave me a taste of how brutal the NBA was, because Desmond Mason was a veteran that I liked. And I spent 7 preseason games with me. We woke up one morning and he was gone. And I still remember that because we're at a breakfast meeting and we're starting the meeting, and I put my hand up. I'm like, hey, Desmond's not here. Like, we're starting the meeting. What's going on? And they're like, oh, by the way, yeah, he's been traded. Just like, what? Like, and that's how you realize, like, the NBA is brutal. Like, you don't have a chance. We don't have a
Yeah.
chance to say goodbye. You don't have a chance to say, hey, man, it was a pleasure playing with you, whatever. It's done, right? So that's when you realize it's like brutal. It's that next up mentality. But Irvin Johnson, Jamal McGlaw was really, really good as well. He used to mess with me a lot, though, as well. Had me do rookie duties. He would call me the night before every game at like around midnight before every game on the road. He'd call me on the hotel room phone and be like, "Hey, young fella, what time shoot around?" And he knew what time shoot around was, but he'd call me every time. I got to a point where I'd get off the bus the night before the game, say we land, get to the hotel, I'd walk past Jamal and be like, "Hey, Big Cat, it's shoot around's at 10 a.m. tomorrow." He's like, okay, young fella, appreciate that.
And
10
he
hours
still
later,
call you.
hey, young fella, what time shoot around? But I went out with him a few times as a young fella, and like he was awesome. He looked after me on the court. He looked after me. If there was ever people being idiots out and about at a bar, he would, he was on it, and he was. I really respected him, and he's obviously an assistant coach now in the NBA. But those two guys are probably the main two guys that helped me out.
So I remember, even for me, you were like, I remember one of my first coats. Where were we at? Chicago, New York, Milwaukee. You got me my first actual coat because I'd never really been in the cold like that. And I just, I grew up while I was in college in Nashville. That was the most cold I had ever had. So it was like a hoodie was good for me. And now we're in the league and we're traveling to Milwaukee in the middle of winter, dead winter, where the lakes are frozen over. And I'm like, yo, I don't have a jacket. And you take me to, I remember it was like Rochester Big and Tall.
Yeah.
And you got me my first coat, man. So I really appreciate that. Big vet.
Yeah, I think it's a pass on. I mean, someone did that for me. Tony Kukoc, I think, bought me a coat or something like that. So then it's obviously my responsibility to do that to help a young fella out down the line. I think it's, the good people in the NBA, they understand that. But then when it's your turn, when you're in that position, you should try to help young fellas out when you can.
Today is April Fool's Day. And obviously, part of being, huh? Oh, not in Australia. Okay. In America, it's April Fool's Day. And for us over here, or for April Fools in general, well, for us in the NBA, we always have our pranks that we pull on different people. Do you remember a favorite? Do you remember something that happened that stuck with you till now?
For me,
don't say mine. Don't say mine, because that was trash. I got fans in Australia because of my prank that y'all pulled on me. But yeah, go ahead.
There was many. I think the one that I did with you was good just because it, you I don't know if you remember the story, but
go ahead, man. Tell the story, bro.
So Festus was a rookie, and we got into it, just some banter back and forth, nothing too serious. As we were in the shower, and I was walking out of the shower, and I think Festus said something under his breath that I just managed to catch. So
man, you were looking for it. You were looking for it, bro. You were looking for a reason to do something.
Hey, Festus, what did you say? And you try to play it. Oh, no, nothing, boys. No. Try to play that big ass cheesy smile. And he's like, no, I didn't say anything. So, all right, I got you. So it's been well recorded. We talked about it on the podcast probably about 5 or 6 episodes ago. I took Festus's wheels and tires off his car and left his car on bricks. And
no, you're not going to go fast forward past this. This is my brand new Mercedes. By the way, this Mercedes, y'all had clowned me when I first got to the team. Y'all clowned me so much for my college car because I didn't want to, I was like, yo, I got my Nissan Murano. I'm good. I don't really care about it. I watched the 30 for 30 NBA broke, and I wanted to be as frugal as I could be. So I kept my college car. People were clowning me all the time. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go get this car, but I really love this car. I wanted this since I was like 5 years old. All right, and then now you continue.
Yeah, we knew you loved the car. And yeah, basically took the wheels off the car, had a friend come and take them off during practice and put them in the locker room. And what was funny about it was you and Harrison Barnes had the same car, the same tires, same Mercedes. It was S550, right?
550, yeah.
So then you were doing your post-practice individual work with Ron Agnew, I think, whoever it was. And most of the guys knew what was going on. So I just went straight to the locker room. I was just sitting in the chair, just waiting for you to come back, right? So you finally came back, and you're like, man, whose tires are these? And I was like, oh, they're Harrison's, Harrison Barnes. Like, I took the tires off his car, and you were like, oh man, that's messed up. But then, like, you could see after a couple of minutes, you're like, hang on a second, like, I've got those same tires. You're like, nah, these are mine. I'm like, no, they're Harrison's. So you ran outside, and there was a camera crew waiting for you. We got it on tape.
Man, sick. I was sick, man.
Remember when you called Mercedes to tell them what happened?
Yeah. So I call Mercedes. I'm like, okay, all right, man. This joke, I'm mad, but I'm also like, I'm like, damn. So I call Mercedes. I'm like, guys, what's going on? Hey, I need they have this emergency thing that they can send to you wherever you are. So like, hey guys, can you? I have some, my tires are off. Can you come help me put them back? They're like, oh yeah, we'll be there in 15 minutes, whatever it is. I'm like, oh, by the way, you got to help me find the tires when you get here, because you put one tire in the locker room, but you hid the other ones in the practice facility. I was like, damn, Bogues.
I think they say something along the lines of like, you called them, were like, you have flat tires? And you're like, no, all four of my cars, my tires are off the car. And they're like, they thought it was a prank call, right?
They thought it was a prank. They thought I was pranking them. It was crazy, man. It's just like, yo, but to be honest, man, these kind of memories, at the time I was pissed. I was mad. I wanted to, but now that I think back to these moments, it's like, it's part of you paying your dues, because like later on down the line, there were other pranks that we pulled on rookies as well. So
I think the worst one was, sorry to interrupt you, the worst one was what Andre did to you, man. That was the worst one.
Andre's was the worst. Were you a part of that? I feel like you were a part of that too.
Yeah, he told me, Andre, he's like, oh, we're gonna get Festus. We're gonna get him. And like, he wouldn't tell us what he was gonna do, but then when we saw it, I was like, man, that was a crazy one.
Andre's prank. I get matter of fact, I got tagged in it today. Every April Fools, I get tagged in it because it's an April Fool joke where he pranked me, and they said they cut me from the team. I'm in a taxi in the Uber in the Lyft, thinking I'm riding to go do a commercial with Lyft, and they play the sound of the car saying, "Oh yeah, Festus Ezeli, the Warriors backup center, has been released from the team." I'm like, the hell's going on? Now I'm over here trying to play it cool, because to be honest, so some of the scenes they deleted from that is, there was a scene when I got into the car. I was like, yo, why? Because there was like a little mini camera, but I could see it. So when I came out, I was like, yo, what's all these cameras for? So what I thought I kind of knew it was a prank, but I thought it was a prank, like they were trying to test my character or something. Like it was a weird backstory, which I should just leave it at that. The prank was crazy, but that's why I didn't react like I wanted to, because I was like, what the. So I was like, oh, somebody's watching me, so let me be careful. So yeah, so there was another one. There was another prank where y'all popcorned somebody's car.
Oh, Bazemore, yeah, you were lucky. I mean, the wheels were definitely better because Bazemore, they pop. That's the age-old one is popcorn. Everyone kind of does that, but man, like that messes up your car, messes up your leather. But he said he had popcorn kernels coming out of his AC vents like 6 months later. So the popcorn's the one you don't want. You got away with just the tires, which just put you out for about 5 or 6 hours. But other than that, at least your car was still feeling good.
So that was after we met when we were with the Warriors. But before you came to the Warriors, you were with the Milwaukee Bucks. And this is actually one of the reasons why I think that you're a beast. You came back from one of the more gruesome injuries I've ever seen in the NBA. Have you, like, maybe you can walk us through that, because I don't know if it's bringing up bad memories. I'm sorry if it is, but if you can walk us through what happened to you, and what year was that?
2009-10, yeah. I'm happy talking about it. I've seen the vision numerous times. Like, I came back to Australia after that and did some media, and then every time I went on a TV show, they'd show it. So I got used to seeing it. Didn't really bother me, but I mean, if you rewind it back a little bit, like I said, I averaged 9 and 7 my rookie year. It wasn't a great year. It wasn't a bad year. It was just an average year, but one of the only number one picks to ever make the playoffs in their rookie year. So I think it was Tim Duncan, myself, and there's one other guy. I can't remember who it was. But then, my growth was going well. My second year was just under a double-double, I think 13 and 10. And then moving on to 2009-10, I just missed out on the All-Star game. We're averaging 16 and 10 in a tough Eastern Conference, a couple of block shots, a couple of assists, and just really started to feel confident on a nightly basis in the NBA, like finally playing well, consistent. Like the thing I had an issue with previously was I'd have a 20 and 20 game and then have a 5 and 5 game. I was up and down, right? So I finally started playing consistently and having a great game against Phoenix. And I remember Carlos Delfino grabs a rebound. I'm out ahead of the break. Believe it or not, I used to be able to run the floor early in my career. And
you had a couple. You had a couple of those. You had a couple leak outs.
I leak out, and I hear Scott Skiles yelling, "Run, Bogues, run, run, run!" So I just take off. Carlos throws a full court pass. I catch it in gather at like the 3-point line. Don't take a bounce, just go into my 1-2, and Amari's behind me. He has a hand kind of on my butt and just gives me the slightest little kind of push as I take off, like small, but
that momentum.
Jumped off 1 foot. So, you know, for anyone that plays basketball, when you jump off 1 foot, you're highly exposed that if you get clipped just a little bit in the air, you're in some trouble. And I dunked it 2 hands and I just couldn't hang on to the rim for some reason. I don't know why I slipped. Hands probably had some condensation or were a little bit wet, whatever it was. Came down, snap. You know, I looked down, didn't feel it straight away, but then looked down at my elbow and my elbow was facing me. I was like, man, like screamed in pain. It was painful. The worst pain I've ever felt. Walked back to the locker room barely. And then, you know, the doctor's like, shit, we got to put it back in if it's out of place. And not knowing, I had a break at the time as well, but they didn't know that at the time. But they're like, look, we need to put your elbow back in because if you don't put it in straight away, there'll be other issues down the line. So they're trying to pop this thing back in, not knowing that it's also broken. So it's dislocated and broken. So he's like, you know, just bear with us. As soon as we snap this back in for you, the pain will stop or it'll ease off and go down. So he snaps this. He's like trying to jam it back in. And I'm like, man, it's killing me. It's killing me. It's killing me. Gets it back in finally. And it's even worse. So I had a fragment of bone that broke off. But they didn't know at the time. So then, yeah, man, like go to the next morning, go to the MRI. I was in an MRI tube for 6 hours. did both sides of my elbow, both sides of my wrist, forearm, index finger. So I broke my elbow, dislocated my elbow, broke my wrist on both sides, broke my index finger. After the index finger scan, I was like, I'm not doing no more MRIs. If something else was broken, so be it. I can't sit here anymore. Keep in mind, my elbow was, you know, like this. I was in a splint that was like, that's how I had to spend the next probably 6 weeks like this. And then I think I broke my middle finger as well, but it didn't get picked up on the scan. But anyway, so then I'm like, damn, I just had a career year. I ended up making All-NBA 13 that year anyway. We finally had a great year in Milwaukee. We make the playoffs. I can't play the playoffs. And I was projected to be out 12 months. I end up killing my rehab, getting after it. I come back. So I did this in March. I came back for training camp in September. So I came back way too early, way too early. Just being hard-headed and stupid and young. I couldn't extend my elbow still, so I had no full flexion in my elbow or extension. And it really, really messed with my shot. My shot just went downhill because I was just having issues with it. And yeah, it changed the way I play. It changed kind of, you know, my whole basketball kind of journey changed after that. Thankfully, I learned a lot about how important it was to be a big fella that could defend the rim and be an integral part of a guy that just because you're not scoring, there's other things you can do. And that all fit in later down the track with Golden State. But that was a really big turning point for me, was that elbow injury. And it probably took me a good 2 years to finally feel like it was moving at a respectable level. But it's never the same. It still doesn't extend to this day. And yeah, my shooting touch really went out of the window with it. But that's just something you kind of have to deal with along the way.
That's one of the things I always respected, is that even like we talked about it back then, and it's like people saw the free throws and they're like, yo, he can't really shoot the free throws. Like, yo, he can't extend his elbow to shoot a free throw. And people never understood it. But that's why I said I consider you a beast, is because you figure it out. You know, isn't that what life is? Like you have an injury, something that you don't expect. Sometimes life comes and knocks you upside the head, and you got to get up and figure it out. And you're still one of the best defensive big men in the NBA. But there was another injury that you had. What was it? Your ankle?
Yeah, so then I rehab from this elbow. Lockout year in 11-12, I come back. The lockout had us come back just before Christmas. Come back, we're playing okay. You know, everything's going well. The elbow's finally feeling pretty good. So I'm starting to feel like old me to an extent. And then playing in Houston, Kyle Lowry shoots a floater from like the dots. I jump up to try and block it. I contest it. He shoots a floater and then tries to run and grab his own floater. And by doing that, he basically, as he shoots it, he undercuts me, right? So I land right on his foot, straight down, break my ankle. Like, didn't know it was broken. I go down and I'm like, damn, like sprained my ankle really bad. This kind of sucks. I get up, I try to run it off. And I'm like, oh, it's bad, but it's not that bad. Let me just go get retaped. So I get to the locker room, and the closer I get to the locker room, the more it's hurting, but I'm like, whatever. And then I get to the locker room and I try to take my shoe off, couldn't get my shoe off. It had already blown up to like a ball. So I'm like, uh-oh. So trainer's like, yeah, you might be in some trouble here. So I had to get some scissors and cut my shoes off. And then as soon as I took my sock off, it's things like this. So I broke a bone called my talus, which is kind of, if you look at like your left foot, it's to the right side of kind of your ankle joint towards the right, towards the, and that was a nightmare, man. That was almost worse than the elbow because it was weight bearing. The elbow, once it kind of got better, that was it. But an ankle, like you can't really rest it because even when you're walking on crutches, when you're doing whatever, you still put pressure on it. And so that ends up, the blessing in disguise of that was it ends up getting me traded because Milwaukee wouldn't trade me. I'd asked to be traded that year, and they were like, "Oh, we're not going to get fair value back. Stick it out." Because I was frustrated. Milwaukee was kind of a revolving door of a franchise. Every year we'd have 9 or 10 new guys, and as you know, like you're not going to build any
Can't
chemistry.
win. No.
No, and we'd get a bunch of guys on 1-year deals or towards the end of their contracts, so they're trying to just get their numbers up and get the hell out of there. Wasn't considered, it still kind of isn't a great place to live. It's cold, it's a small market, whatever, right? So I asked to get moved. They're like, we're not moving you. I never made any of this public. I never was a guy that would go to the media and be like, trade me. So then I break my ankle and they're like, oh, like he's out for the year anyway. Coach is on the hot seat. GM was in the hot seat. So they thought we might as well get some value back if someone's going to give it to us. They ended up trading me for Monte Ellis, who then ended up helping them get the 8th seed in the playoffs. But they ended up all getting fired a year after that anyway. But I ended up getting a Golden State, and that was the blessing because it ended up getting me to a squad where I played an integral role. But that ankle took me probably 2 good years. As you know, your rookie year, you started a lot of the games because I couldn't play. My ankle was, I had surgery, which I thought was going to be a 6 to 8 week turnaround.
Yeah.
Just a scope and a clean out. And once they went in with the scope, they realized that the talus was messed up. So they did a microfracture essentially on my ankle. And anyone that hears microfracture in the NBA knows that not a good word you want to use as far as longevity for your career. So I tried to come back for training camp, which I did like an idiot again. Had the surgery, came back by training camp, which was September, October, which I shouldn't have been back on the floor at all. But I was so excited about being traded to a new franchise, having a chance to be part of a rebuild of a team. And then every time I played or practiced on it, the thing blew up, where I couldn't move the next day. And then I played 4 games and then had to shut it down until February. And then, to be honest with you, in February, it still wasn't right. But I was like, shit, I need to come back. We're making a run for the playoffs. Came back and played at a decent level. But I mean, I was at, it's not an excuse, but I was at 60% maybe for that season. And then had a great run in the playoffs, played really well in the playoffs. We played San Antonio tough in 6 games. Probably should have even won. Probably should have won 7 because we kind of threw that game up to San Antonio. We were up 20 or whatever. And then that whole off season I spent just getting my ankle right, and then finally came back that next year and was feeling a little bit better. But that ankle was, even the surgeon was like, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, like you don't have a lot of years left. You know, you might not be 100% ever again. But going back to what we talked about with rebuilding the beast, the number one pick, the All NBA, the leading league in blocks, they're all great. My most proudest moments for my career are being told twice that your career is kind of and being like, nah, man, I'm good.
Making
I'm
it
gonna
back.
edge out
Oh
my
yeah.
career, end up playing another 6-7 years and win a championship and playing, 14 years in the NBA, 16 years pro. So, that's kind of what I'm most proud of. That's not really an award, if that makes sense.
Bugs, dude, you have no idea how you inspired me even during that time because I had some knee injuries during that time. My senior year in college, I had a knee injury that lingered into the NBA, but, I played through it because I saw you and we talked about this stuff and you would always advise me, as a veteran, like we had that relationship where I would come to you and we'll talk about the injury stuff and you'd be like, yo, like either, take your time and make sure it's right or, you'll be fine. Just keep pushing. So, I always appreciated that part of our relationship. But one of the things I always talked about, I even talked about it on my episode with this podcast is, I had there was a part of my journey where I was just in a deep, dark hole. Like even, I just with this recovery that I've been on the past few years, and we've been in touch and we've talked every once in a while. You checked up on me, I checked up on you. And there's a part of it where I had to deal with depression. And it comes with not being able to do your job, do your sport, do the thing that you love, and not feeling like you're just there. You're going through rehab every day. Did you ever experience something like that?
Oh man, all the time. And that's what people don't understand is like, you don't want to be injured. Like the fans get on you. He's injury prone. Even like your teammates sometimes, they don't understand it. They, you're doing your rehab and you say you're a 6-month injury and they see you after 3 months. Oh, he's walking around fine. He's working out. Like, why can't he play? Like, oh, he's X, Y, Z, and that's natural with competitive guys, but it can get to you, man, and it's hard. There's no answer to it. The cameras aren't on. Fans don't see every day of 6 months straight of being able to learn how to walk again or learn how to shoot again and all that kind of stuff. People only see the end result, be like, oh, he's not the same player he used to be. You're like, hang on a second, like he just had a car accident type injury that he's bounced back from. And that's the hardest thing. I remember breaking my leg when I saw him in Cleveland, first game with Cleveland, I break my leg, right? Just had a newborn baby that wasn't sleeping. Wife was doing that kind of by herself. We're in Cleveland in a city where I was just about to sign a lease, so I was still in a hotel, break my leg. I'm now stuck. They're like, you can't travel for 4 to 6 weeks on a plane because of the swelling. You could have a blood clot. So I'm stuck in Cleveland in a 2-bedroom kind of hotel in the hospital with a newborn that's not sleeping. I can't basically shower or go to the bathroom by myself because I was on crutches. I had to kind of get help to get out of the bed and everything. That's what people don't see. And that was every day of hell. It was like, dude, you can only watch so much TV and do so much internet till you want to kill yourself, man. Like, and it was during the NCAA tournament. So I'd wake up at 6, 7 in the morning, and then I'm laying in bed till I go to bed. And
Yeah.
for 4 straight weeks, I left the hotel room once to go get dinner because I'm like, I need to just get out of my room. And I was in so much pain that I just sucked it up, went to the hotel lobby just to eat in the lobby to get out of the room. That's what people don't see. And it's not a sob story. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Like we get, all the accolades of money and fame and fortune and all that, great, but it's fact. And that's a thing that people don't understand. If you don't have a great wife like I do and whatnot, you're going to struggle through those kind of things.
That's real though. It's not even a sob story. It's the real stuff that I keep saying that I want to talk about because, I want to talk about it for one thing. First thing is I want to be able to reflect with you on your journey because people look at it as you're injury prone and they look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as you went through these crazy injuries and you came back from them. That says a lot about, first off, your love for the game, but like how tough of a person you are. I always knew you were tough. Like everything that happened through our journey to get to, winning a championship and bouncing back from losing one. And it says a lot about a person, that they keep fighting no matter what the journeys and the challenges it is that they face. So let's switch up to something more fun because we experienced some of the best moments, at least for my career. We won a championship together, bro. You're an NBA champion, dog. Um, Take me through, what you remember from our run. Just like what is it? What are your memories? What are your best memories, fondest memories, the things that stick with you from us winning a championship?
Well, first off, how lucky we were. You're on a team. There's 1 out of 30 teams that have a chance to win a championship. And let's be realistic. Generally, every season, there's probably 5 or 6 teams that have a real chance to win. Maybe less these days. And I don't think we expected to win a championship that year. Like, we're being honest with each other. We went from the Mark Jackson era, who did a great job getting us to that point. I mean, you might disagree, but I don't think he could have taken us much further than that. I think he did a great job of building the structure that we had once Steve got there. But we ran a lot of ISO stuff with Mark and whatnot. And that's a separate debate. But once Steve came in, a rookie head coach from the commentary booth, essentially, we didn't know what to expect. Mark was kind of loved by a lot of guys, so there was some turmoil there. No one would have picked us to win a championship. But we had a great group of guys. We had different tools on our belt. We brought, Draymond Green, yourself, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala. Like, we had guys buying into roles, and it all just kind of fit. But what I tell people about that group was, you're not going to have an NBA team, even that team, where everyone loves each other. It's just not going to happen. Human nature says 15 people on a squad. There might be 1 or 2 that don't get along, but that team understood that even the guys that didn't get along, they'd try to make an effort in team settings. But for the most part, we had guys that got along. Like, we'd banter, talk shit, we'd get into it. I remember you getting in a fight with Draymond Green on the plane, or I get in a fight with Draymond Green at practice, or Clay gets into it, and Harrison, and that's normal, man. Like, but a day or 2 later, you forget about it, you move on. And that was what was special about that group. And I talk about it a lot on my podcast and with numerous people that ask Warriors what was special about that group. I've been in the league for 14, 15 years. That was the first team I've been on that our self-organized team meals, we'd have 80 or 90% of the guys there every road trip. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on, I don't know what it was like when you were in Portland, but most teams I've been on, that doesn't happen. You'll have a clique of guys, 3 or 4 guys, they like going clubbing. 3 or 4 guys like doing their own thing, go to a restaurant. 2 guys stay in their room, 1 guy sees family, and just never together. Whereas that group, we'd have 80 or 90%. And that's only because, say, we're going to a certain city like Chicago, HB had family there, so he'd do his own thing with family. But the other 9, 10, 11 guys, we're in the lobby at 7, going to eat together. And that wasn't pushed by the team. And we figured out, like, we all have to eat dinner, right? Why not do it together for 2 hours, talk shit, have fun, do whatever. And then it just became normal, became a normal thing. Like, it wasn't even, where's dinner tonight? And that does not happen on most sporting teams. So I was very blessed. And then as that kind of all went along, it factored into an NBA championship, which is amazing.
I always remember that the camaraderie, and even the times where we got into it, different players got into it. It's part of, even in the family, you don't have my family, I get into it with my brothers. So that's part of the whole thing, but it never affected the way we played. Right? We always came out, we all were competitive. We wanted to win. It showed in the fact that we won a championship and we came back wanting to win the next one, just like it was just that hunger. But I reminisce back on this team, and you asked about Portland, how they were. Portland was actually they did the exact same thing. Great team, great organization, great players. They got along very well. As I reminisce on that year, I think that's one of the things I took away. I think that there's a quote that my college coach always used to say. He said, "It's amazing what can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the glory." And for us, we used to we knew that Steph was our guy. You know what I mean? And so we used to try to feed him. Like, you set the best screens in the league, and I'm over here being the bruiser behind you, and Mo Space coming in, shooting shots, David Lee playing his role. We all played our roles in our different ways because we all wanted to win. And even people who didn't want to accept that they were coming off the bench, it's like, at the end of the day, how are we going to do this? How are we going to win? You know what I mean? And so we're holding this trophy. Now, Andrew Bogut, NBA champion. you're holding a trophy, man. What does this mean? What are you thinking about? How do you feel?
I just coming from Milwaukee, where, to be honest with you, I knew we never had a genuine chance to win a championship while I was there. Small markets in the NBA generally don't have they have a puncher's chance, but they don't have that year in, year out legitimate chance to win a championship. You look at Toronto as an example right now. They won a championship 2 years ago. Look at them now. And they're a smaller market team. Even though Toronto's a big city in NBA terms, they're not classified up there with the Lakers or whatever, right? But to be part of that group of 15 guys and coaches and staff that, one day will have, that championship kind of dinner again to catch up about the good old times, you're forever in the history books. And it's a very rare opportunity in professional sport, just because, as you mentioned, like, we had a lot of guys that bought into their roles, and some guys were probably better than the role they played. Like Andre Iguodala was, he was a 20-point player in Philadelphia for numerous years. He was asked to come off the bench, and he didn't like it at the time, but he ended up understanding it. He ran that second group perfectly. High IQ. He was basically the point guard in that second group, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where it's hard, because, let's be real, like, the old NBA, it's changed now a little bit, but the old NBA paid strictly upon numbers. So your zeros and your contract go up based on PPG, RPG, APG, your numbers, right? So there was a real selfishness for a while in that NBA of, if you're on a mediocre team, it was like, oh, we're not going to do anything anyway, so I'm just going to get my numbers. Whereas on that Golden State team, guys understood that we're all going to get rewarded if we win. And we saw that. Like, we had a lot of our bench guys, even yourself, like, got poached by other teams because they won a championship, even if they didn't play a lot of minutes. Justin Holiday, who else did we have? Barbosa, Mo Spates. They all got contracts beyond that that were probably better contracts than some guys that have better numbers than them, because they were part of a winning organization. Mm-hmm. There is a huge value in that that's probably underappreciated at times.
So we went through that. So we went to the next year. Now we go through the next year and we come back and we're kicking tail. We're just running through the league, and we go through the year. And I don't want to, but we short on time. So we go through that year and we break the record for most wins in the NBA history, most wins in the regular season. And then we go through that playoff run. And we're supposed to win it now, because we barely lost 2 games in a row, never lost 3 games in a row. And so we go through that whole playoff series the next year in 2016. What do you remember about that?
I think it wasn't as enjoyable as the first year, because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I think and that was the beauty of our group. Like, I don't know if you remember, whenever we lost the game, even during that year where it was 73-9, whenever we lost the game, that next day it was kind of like awkward. It was I'm looking at you like, Festus, like, why didn't you box out on that play? And Draymond's looking at me like, Bogues, like, why didn't you knock that shot down? Like, we were like, it was like one of those, just the feeling was in the air of like, we're ready to kill somebody. So then you knew that next team we were playing were in some trouble, right? But I think it took an emotional toll on us. I think, we became the traveling circus. I remember going to hotels on the road. Man. And it went from 5 or 10 people waiting for autographs from your rookie year to 100, 200, 300 people camped around the lobby, can't even get to the front desk to get your key. And that takes its toll, no matter how good and how strong-minded you are. I don't care what people say. We embraced it for the most part, but I think we burnt out a little bit towards the end, but we also had some bad luck. And you got to give Cleveland credit. The beauty of a 7-game series is there's momentum shifts throughout a series, and we did what Cleveland did to us the series before against OKC. We stole that series. We probably should have been out in the conference finals. And then, we're up 3-1. Draymond gets suspended. I do my knee. A few other things happen along the way. All of a sudden, now you're asked to start, which isn't your role.
I was also going through my injury then as well. So there was a whole lot happening. Yeah.
And then I think we burnt out towards the end, and you don't take anything away from Cleveland. It's not an excuse. like I said, they saw a momentum shift after Game 5, especially once Draymond got suspended. Our lineup was then a bit out of whack because different guys were coming in at different times. You weren't coming in at your natural time. Mo had to play more minutes, whatever it was. So our rhythm was bumped up a little bit, and we never recovered from it. They stole momentum and won it. And that was the most frustrating thing, that we just couldn't put a cap on that 73-9, because people talk about that as winning a season, great, but we couldn't cap it with a championship, and that's just something we're going to live with. But at the same time, we are very fortunate to have one championship when many people play 15, 20 years and don't even have an opportunity to play for a championship.
What is I asked Mo the same question, and you win a championship. When people ask me about winning a championship, I say it's the best. If you think about winning a championship, you think about how good it is, it's way better than that. If you think about losing a championship, it's how bad it is, it's way worse than that.
Yeah.
How was that for you? How did you recover from that whole situation and from that time? And what was your perspective on that whole thing?
It was hard for me just because I felt like I didn't have a great series, the finals before, and we went uber small ball when we won it. So I didn't play a lot in the finals. So I was kind of a little bit disappointed on that, but then won a championship. So I was like, I can't be too down about it, right? So then I made a promise to myself, like I didn't have a great series against OKC. In this final series, I'm gonna ball, and I was playing really well. I thought like, I had some points, some games, some rebounds, but I thought my rim presence on the floor was really elite that series, especially from the point of view that LeBron was looking for me at times. Like, he turned the corner and he was looking for where I was at. And I think that's where I really affected that series. So when I did my knee, when J.R. Smith kind of did a somersault to my knee, it was kind of like, damn. So I was like, it was bad where I couldn't even walk. And that was the most disappointing thing, was it wasn't even a point where I could get an injection and try to suck it up for 2 more games, which I was willing to do. It was like, no, like you can't move laterally. You're not going to be able to move. I ended up tearing my fib head as well, which I didn't know at the time. I basically had a really bad bone bruise, but then had a tear on the lateral side, which didn't get picked up for 3 or 4 weeks because I was complaining about like a nerve pain. But anyway, I won't go into that. But yeah, it's just a hard thing to recover from. I got out of there as soon as I could just to get away. The thing that got me through was the Olympics. So the Olympics were in 2016. Right after that, they were in August, and I wanted to play in the Olympics. So I shifted my focus straight away into, I need to smash this rehab, because I almost missed the Olympics because of the knee. I just made it on time. I remember I played one practice match for 10 minutes before the first game of the Olympics. So my fitness wasn't at where it should have been, but I grinded to get back for that Olympics
because you needed to get this bad taste out, huh?
Exactly, but then that was a blessing in disguise, because I forgot about that quickly. I forgot about the Golden State thing quickly until I got traded mid training camp. But yeah, so I remember getting that trade call mid Australian national team. But I kind of knew they let me know, and I knew the KD thing was on the cards. So they had to free up cap space, and I was the odd man out. So, but yeah, look, it's a hard thing to recover from. I don't mind talking about it, but it still does.
It still hurts a little bit. Yeah.
It is. I mean, could have been the greatest team of all time, no debate. And now it's up for debate, right?
So let's switch gears now, because you talk about playing for the Olympic team. And so I had a friend of mine, Lauren Sesselman. She played in the Olympics for Canada, and she played soccer for them. And she was talking about the Olympic Village. Is it as crazy as I hear it is? You gotta tell me. You gotta spill the beans, bro.
I mean, for basketball, it's a little bit different, to be honest, man, because we play from the opening ceremony to a closing ceremony. So we can't really get involved in the partying side of things that you hear about. There's a lot of sports like swimming, their first 5 days, and then they're done. So then they've got 15 days in the village of their party time, right? So you can get caught up in that pretty easily. But as a basketball team, like we knew, like we play every other day. You didn't have time for that stuff. But you see it. Like, there's some crazy stuff going on. All the sexual relations are at an all-time high. There's condoms thrown around the whole village. But it's just more crazy from a point of view of, I remember my first one in 2004 in Athens. it's basically its own suburb. So you need to catch a bus sometimes. If your apartments are far enough away from the dining hall, you can't walk because it's so far. That's how big the area is.
Oh.
You're housing tens of thousands of athletes. But I remember a couple of times just sitting kind of on a park bench in an area where a lot of people walk past and just people watching. And you're just seeing the most amazing um, specimens in the world, like world-class, finely tuned athletes that are in the best shape of their life, good-looking females, of course, and just, that's Rafa Nadal, that's Roger Federer, that's, unless you're the USA team and you're too big time and you stay on a separate ship. All the other countries stay in the village, and it's actually really, really cool.
So after all this is said and done, you played in the NBA, and at some point you left the NBA to play in Australia. I want to know about that. I want to know about the decision to return to the Golden State Warriors again, how that felt. I just kind of want to know about that journey for you.
Yeah, so a lot of it, I had a really horror run towards the end of my career in the NBA with a bunch of things. Got moved a few times, was in Dallas, then got traded to Cleveland, broke my leg, signed with the Lakers the following year. And they ended up waiving me when they said they wouldn't waive me. They ended up waiving me in January. I just had my son, who was 1 year old at the time. So it was a tough time because then my grandfather died early February in Australia.
Hard to hear that.
So yeah, that's okay. I mean, it is what it is, but may rest in peace. But all these shits just started happening at once, and then it was transitioning to having a child in your house, and the stress of the marriage was high between my wife and I. Like I said, he wasn't sleeping well, so that hindered our relationship a little bit. And it got to a point where my wife flew back to Australia. I stayed in the States and was working out in LA, and I had a few teams, championship potential teams, that were like, wait till the deadline, we want to see what we're going to do, but if we don't do anything, we definitely want to bring you in, just sign you for the rest of the season for a playoff run as a backup big. So I was just waiting for that. My grandfather dies early February, so I'm like, man, I got to go back for the funeral. I go back. Right at that time, my wife gets diagnosed with a high-risk pregnancy for our second child, meaning that, there could be some huge complications there. So I basically decided, like, you know what, I'm not going to fly back to America without my wife, who can't travel now anyway, and be away from my son for a three-month playoff run. I'm just going to stay in Australia. And then I contacted the Sydney Kings at the time and said, look, I'm willing to play in Australia, and that's how that all kind of went down. And it was mainly a family decision. I could have went back to the NBA and played on probably 2 or 3 vet min deals, being traded, waived, all that stuff that goes with it, and I just wasn't up for bouncing around that much with 2 newborn kids and a wife that was high risk pregnancy at the time. So that the family side of it played a bigger part of the decision than the basketball side.
And you went there and you did your thing. You were, leading shot blocker. You won the MVP. And I'm sure that must have made you, there's a certain, I know that you're one of the most notable people in Australia in terms of athletics. So that must have felt good to be back home doing your thing. I know that, what was the difference, first of all, in the basketball between the NBA and Australia?
It's a little bit different. Obviously, some different rules. FIBA rules are a little bit different. You can zone, and it's a 40-minute game rather than a 48. But the thing I liked was, for family life, it's a perfect league to play in. You play on the weekends, generally 1 or 2 games a week, generally from Thursday to Sunday. You're home for 5-6 days of training, then you go on the road or you got a home game. So it really helped my family life. And yeah, I played pretty well. I mean, I thought I could have played a little bit better at times, but yeah, I led the league in rebounds and block shots, and that team was a bottom 2 team for 3 or 4 straight years. So to get us back into the top 4 in the finals, made the semifinals, and then last season we made the grand final. So turned that around, and then, the interesting thing was there, like that MVP year, I get a text from, I think we're in December or January, so halfway through the year. Draymond Green texts me, and he says, "What's up, man? Like, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Good, good, good." But I thought, what's he going to ask, right? He's like, hey, do you have a buyout in your Australian contract? I said, look, I have a buyout. I've got shares in the team potentially. I can leave, but I wouldn't on principle because I came to Sydney to turn this thing around and get us back to winning. I'm not going to bail halfway through the year. Like I gave him my word that I'll play here, and I had a 2-year deal. So he was trying to get me over mid that season. And I said, look, our season finishes in March. Let's chat at the end of the season, and then towards the end of February, March, the Warriors sent a scout out to just see me and made sure that the video footage that I was seeing wasn't doctored in some way, that I was still doing well. And then as soon as our season ended, they offered me, to come back and just be a role player on that team, be, the 14th, 15th guy. Now, my body at that point I was close to retirement anyway. I knew I had a year left max. My body was starting to really get sorer and sorer, and it was harder and harder to get up for games and trainings. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to be the 14th, 15th man, not expecting to play much, get a championship ring potentially. So then I go over there, and DeMarcus does his quad in the first round of the playoffs. So I'm like, oh, shit. So then Steve is like, hey, we're starting you in the playoffs. I'm just like, okay. So now I've gone from not expecting to play to playing 15, 20. And it was kind of surreal, to be honest, man. Like it didn't fit. People think it finished horribly when I got traded. I mean, I was disappointed. I just got traded from the best team in the league. Of course I was pissed off, but it wasn't a bitterness. It was like, it is what it is, part of the business. So to have that opportunity to go back there where there's a lot of fans that I love and there's fans that love me, and have a chance to compete with those guys again, just playing cards on the plane, the banter, the Steph, Clay, Draymond, myself, that relationship that we had was just cool to be part of again for one more time.
That's awesome, man. So now you're transitioning from a pro athlete to retirement. What helped you find your new path? Like, what is it, what is that like? How do you feel now? I know I kind of asked you that earlier, but I kind of want to circle back. I'm like, what made you feel like, okay, it's time now?
Like I said, my body. It got to a point that last season. So I went from that Warriors run. So I basically played 24 months of basketball. I went from that Sydney Kings MVP year straight to the NBA, straight from the NBA back to Australia for the World Cup for the national team, and then straight from there back to another NBL season. And about a quarter away in that NBL season, I knew I was done. My back was flaring up every other day. It was to a point where I'd get home from practice and I'd be lying on the floor with a recovery ball doing self-massage. I'm talking like 3, 4, 5 hours, Get up, eat, go to the bathroom, come back down, lie down again. Get up, go do something. And it was just like I was putting in so much more time than I was getting back. I remember taking my kids to the park and could barely push them on the swing because my back was messed up. And then I remember like being cognizant of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go and play with the kids right now because I've got a game tomorrow. I might mess my back up. And I was like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Not at that point. If I was 25, you figure it out, right? But 35, 36, NBA championship, played well in the NBL, numerous Olympics, had a fantastic journey. The only disappointing thing and regret I have is not being able to get to this Olympics. That was my goal. So my goal was to go NBL to Warriors to World Cup to NBL into that Olympics 2020 in August, which I would have been in shape for coming from an NBL season. And then that's it. And then coronavirus happened. They delayed the Olympics. So that would mean, okay, I got to play somewhere else between
to get ready
21 to stay ready. And I knew I couldn't get through a full season again. So I was like, I'm not. So that was a big reason why I gave it up. And look, I have no regrets as far as did I do it at the right time or not. But I guess the only one thing I was disappointed in is not being able to get to my 4th Olympics, which is now coming up in August.
You can live through me, bro. I'm working to get back out there to work with the Nigerian team, to play with the Nigerian team. So you can live through me, give me all the worldly advice from your career and just channel it all into me, man. Channel it all into Nigeria. We got you.
You're lucky, man, because we're supposed to play you in a friendly, I think.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Pre-coronavirus, Nigeria, I think Nigeria, the US, and Spain were supposed to come to Melbourne to play in like a 4-game little friendly series before the Olympics. So
Oh,
we
that
would have
was
kicked your
fun.
ass, send you guys into the Olympics on a bad note.
Here we go. I told you to channel all the positive energy to me. This is what I'm talking about right here. Okay, this is not helping anything, huh?
Just the Australia game, you would have got your ass kicked, and it would have got you guys in a good rhythm.
Getting your ass kicked gets you in a good rhythm. Yo, okay, yeah. Tell me about. So you started a new podcast, so one of the things that people always say, they say the podcast game is oversaturated. There's too many people out there trying to tell their story. I actually don't believe that. I think that there's not enough people trying to tell their stories, especially positive role models who are out there. I just think for all the craziness that we have in the world and for all the negativity, that we need more people like you telling their stories. So, what's been that journey? What's that journey been like? And what's life like right now for you?
Yeah, the podcast was something that I was probably in that boat of thinking it was oversaturated. But I decided that it's given me a great transition to do something straight from retirement, keep my brain ticking over, which during coronavirus there were times it was hard because you're just sitting at home all day doing nothing. But yeah, the podcast has been really well received. You know, we're getting a lot of good views and our numbers are going up by the minute. But I have different aspects of my life. I'm more than just a basketball player or a podcaster. So I do obviously the weekly basketball podcast with a guy named Mike Procopio, who's worked with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and a bunch of people. And we just shoot the shit about basketball. And the reason why people like it is M-rated. There's a lot of swearing, especially from Mike, but we try to tell it as it is without a Raymond Ritter PR guy saying, you can't say that, you can't say this. We just let loose. And
you just say it, yeah.
Controversial at times, but it's the real NBA. It's not manufactured by ESPN or these people that have an agenda of making sure they appease certain people. I do all the run sheets. We talk about what we want. We don't sugarcoat it. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But the cool part of my podcast is I'm doing a My Journey series. So I decided to do an autobiography, what a book would read like for, say, Festus Ezeli, an autobiography, but via podcast. So episode 1, if people circle back, it's basically my childhood. And then episode 2 is my teenage years. Episode 3 is the AIS. Episode 4 goes, so I'm up to episode 6 is about to drop tomorrow. That's my sophomore year in college. So it's going to go in chronological order in the form of an autobiography. And I don't think anyone's ever done it. Any professional athlete's ever done an autobiography via podcast. So I like to think I'm the first. I'm excited about that. It's doing really well. And that has a lot of real shit to it. Like it's very blunt and honest about kind of what you're talking about, building the beast, but just the trials and tribulations of my childhood, my father escaping communism, all that kind of stuff, moving to a country where I didn't know English, to then all of a sudden having children here, me being cut, attitude problem, playing for one of the most notoriously hardest coaches to ever live in Rick Majerus, all that stuff. And it's real stories. And along the way, I get guests on. So episode 6, I got my head coach from the University of Utah on. So try to really liven it up and get some context around things. And it's been very well received so far. And on top of that, I have, as you have, I've met a lot of fantastic people, not only in basketball, but the business world, Silicon Valley, poker players, whoever it is, right? And once the world opens up a bit, I anticipate getting them on the podcast in just a Q&A format and just telling their stories, because there's a lot of cool people that I know that have great stories.
I'm really proud of you, man. That's so awesome. Like I really do, like, I'm excited because there's other people who will hear your stories, and we get to hear about the real Bogues, the Bogues that was partying in Utah too. So I can't wait to tune in. But it's so important for us to tell our stories. Like, I'm so grateful. All I had to do was just ask you, like, yo, Bogues, you want to get on? And I really appreciate it. That's the camaraderie I was talking about with our relationship from the team and from our time together. Is it goes on way beyond that championship, right? That stuff is for life. So I appreciate you, but this is my favorite question that I love to ask people. It's always my last question, and it is, as you reflect back on your journey, because that's kind of what this whole thing is about, right? It's reflecting, it's thinking about where you came from, what you've accomplished, and what also inspiring you to do more because of all the things you went through. When you look back on this journey, and you could talk to your former self, your young self, young Bogues, um, maybe the 16-year-old that got cut from the Victorian team, or even the Bogues that was getting drafted at #1 that day on stage, what would you say to him?
I enjoy it more, without a doubt. Enjoy it more. I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have. And I don't know if you understand this, you probably would, but you're always, as an athlete, trying to better yourself. You're always nervous about the guy in your position taking your minutes, the guy you're playing against kicking your ass, losing that game, winning that game, whatever it is, there's always something you're focused on. So it was always like, pre-game meal at this time, gotta get my nap in, gotta do this, and everything's regimented in our lives, where I don't think I enjoyed the moment as much as I should have. And it's hard to go back in time, but that'd be the biggest thing. I don't think I enjoyed the just that moment as much, and it's hard to do because of the pressure and the pride you take in not getting your ass kicked, the pride you take in kicking someone else's ass, winning, losing, you're in the spotlight, media, money, women, whatever it is, right? I think I wish I would have just enjoyed that moment of that 15 years more than I did.
I think one of the things, and the really cool thing is, it's the point of reflection is you can use that for the future. But I also want to challenge that, because I think about that all the time. The fact that we're always searching for the next thing. We're always working for the next contract. You get a big contract right now. It's like, I got to prove that I'm worth this money so I can get the next contract, which is bigger. And then we just won a championship, but I got to prove it that we won this one because we deserved it. So I got to win the next one. And it's kind of hard to be the best, or to strive to be the best, if you don't have this attitude. Right?
Yeah, I agree totally. I agree totally.
Yeah.
But there has to be a balance. I think when you get older and
Yeah.
wiser, we all are, I think it's that balance of, that's the one thing I'd change. But you go back, you probably still couldn't do it because, like you said, like it's not even about sometimes getting the next contract. It's proving you're worth it. Or this media person said something bad about me that I can't shoot from this part of the floor. I'm going to prove that I can. Like it's always, and you've got the money, you've got distractions of people trying to take money from you, losing money, maintaining your wealth so when you retire you can live a nice life. Like there's so many things that are a distraction that you're kind of like all over the place, especially as a young fella. But yeah, like I said, it's just sometimes you just don't. My father used to always get on me about it, like, you made it, enjoy it. I'm like, I haven't made it. Like, I'm a rookie, I'm the #1 pick. These guys are waiting to kick my ass. I haven't made shit yet. He's like, you need to enjoy the moment more. And I'm like, I literally can't, because as soon as I let my guard down and enjoy that, I feel like I'm going to lose that, what I've earned, right? But he was always big on, like, you should enjoy it more. But when you're in that moment, it's kind of hard to explain. But yeah, I guess sitting down and having a drink or a night out, or I was always cognizant about getting sleep and not staying out late and making sure I was ready for the next game, where every now and then I probably should have just enjoyed it more.
How do you enjoy it more now?
Well, it's just the luxuries that I have. Very fortunate to be in a position where I don't have a house on finance like most families that are battling. I don't have to want for anything or dream about earning something financially or saving or all that kind of stuff, where I'm in a position financially where I can enjoy it. But the one thing I've also learned, which would be good for your listeners, is, and all people say this that have money, and people that don't have money don't understand it. I didn't understand it as a kid. You come to realize once you have money, that the material things don't really matter at all. They're nice to have, and they make you feel good for a minute or two. But for me, it's becoming the experiences that money can provide you more than the car or the house, right? So what I mean by that is going to a very nice hotel room, a hotel with your kids somewhere, experiencing fine food, fine drinks, atmosphere, beautiful view, a beautiful beach. That's That's where money is enjoyed, in my opinion. And I think people that become older realize that. Like, I've got a car collection that's beautiful, but it's a car collection, right? It's like, it's not a living thing. It's nice to go and drive every now and then, but it's not giving me the joy my kids give me or my family, or like taking your kid to a theme park and their eyes lighting up like, holy shit, that's Incredible Hulk or Spider-Man or whatever. They're the experiences that people with money realize that are way more important than all the other shit.
I can't wait to come out there so you can take me to a theme park. I can get the experiences. It's gonna be fun, man. Yo, thank you so much for this thing. I hope that people can hear this and just be inspired by your journey. You know, you're one of the people that I look up to, just in the way that you've handled yourself through your career, everything that you've been through, come back from, and everything. It's just been, it's really dope, man. And hearing it even now, it's inspired me even more. So I appreciate you, bro. Thank you, Bose.
No worries. Get healthy. Get back on that court.
Yes,
So come on over there.
So I can kick Australia's ass.
That's it. All right, boss. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Thank you, bro. Thank you.